Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the class. So, in the last class, we were continuing the second chapter. In the second chapter, the third concept. We discussed about the two concepts. And what are those two concepts we discussed in the second chapter? Yes, about the land and soil. So, how much percent of our Earth's surface is covered by the land mass? Yes, it is 30%. Remaining 70% of our Earth's surface is covered by water bodies. So then, what is the name of our chapter? Yes, it is land, soil, water, and natural vegetation, and wildlife. So here about the land we discussed and the soil in the last class we discussed. Now, without wasting our time, we will get into the third concept. It's about water. You know, water is a renewable resource. It's a vital resource, like important renewable resource. Renewable. That means the thing which can able to make new again is called as renewable. We discussed about that. So what is a renewable resource? If you use the water, again you can get that. How? Where we can get the water again and again? Yes, through the water cycle. Is it not? So water will be evaporated due to high temperature and it will be evaporated to the atmosphere, and that turns into the solid or gaseous, solid and liquid. That means the process is called as condensation. Then that falls on the Earth's surface due to the gravitational force. It is called as a precipitation, and we have different forms: drizzling, silt, rainfall, is not fog. These are some forms of a precipitation what we get on the Earth's surface. So through this process, we get a water recycled, means renewed, replenished again and again. That's the reason we call this water as a renewable resource. It's one of the examples for renewable resources like water, air, sunlight. It's all the examples for these renewable resources. So, water is a vital renewable resource. So, renewable resource, of course, it comes under the natural resources. Further in the resources, we have three divisions: natural, human made. This water is one of the examples of these natural resources. So, it's a renewable natural resources. As we discussed in the first concept, land is covered 30% of our Earth's surface. So the remaining 70% of Earth surface is covered by water or water bodies. Yes, it's a water mass, water bodies. So 70%, remaining 30%, yes, it is a land. Water is a renewable resources, and 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water. That's what I underline. So write down this. So we get water replenished through the water cycle. You know about the water cycle? I explained about the water cycle in the beginning, isn't it? So in the 7th class we discussed about this water cycle concept. So you'll get this water replenished, means renewed. Same, it's renewed, replenished through the water cycle. So the water will be evaporated, and it's being evaporating because this high temperature, and it will be gathered over in the atmosphere in some layer, and it turns to the liquid and the solid. The process is called as condensation. Then that falls on the surface to the precipitation. That's what we discussed. So through this or by this cycle, like a water cycle, we get water again and again. It is one of the basic needs for survival or survival. Water, as you know, the land is one of the basic needs. Air, sunlight, and water. These are the four important basic needs to survive on the earth. Not only for human beings, for any other living organisms to survive on the earth. These are the basic needs. So water, what we are discussing, concepts of water is very important. Basic needs. So human beings uses water for drinking. Actually, not only the human beings, the animals, birds also use water for drinking. And even for the plants, water is a very much essential thing, is not? So I am taking example for as a human being. So not only for a human being, as I told, it is important for everything. So human beings uses water for drinking and many other purpose or activities like for agriculture, then for the building, then industries. In industry, we will use the water. Then for the transportation, then water transportation. For the beginning, when the civilization has started, civilization is the life changing of lifestyle. When the new lifestyle started in the human beings' history, there we started to make use of this water for drinking for the first time. In civilization, many areas took place on the bank of river. In India, like Indian civilization, or as Indus civilization. Indus civilization, there people they started to make use of water for drinking first. When they got idea of agriculture, they started to make use of water for agriculture, like cropping, for the irrigation or any other thing. Irrigation facility was not there, but they were making use of water for the agriculture activity. Then they got information about construction of a building. Then they started to make use of water for buildings. Then the modernity, when the time passed, technology improved. Then they have started to make use of this. We have started to make use of water for industries. Then before that, we started to make use of water for the transportation, like the ocean and sea. As like a land route, ocean route is also oldest route. The America, North America, South America, and connection in between the Europe and India, it's only possible only by this road, like a water. The sea route and ocean route. Through this or by this, they got a connection with India. Means Europeans, they got connected with India by this sea route. And Amerigo Vespucci, you know about that, he has founded or discovered the America through this water transportation, like sea route. It's the uses we are getting from an ancient period, not only in these years. From the ancient period, we are having uses. From agriculture, it's one, and for building nowadays two, and industries, and the transportation. Now for the transportation, we are making use of this water, and for cooking. So these all the uses we are getting from the water. We are really having from the water. These are the uses. And not only for drinking, that says that water, we are not only using water for drinking. There are many other activities for we are making use of the water. So if you goes on making list of these uses what you are getting from the water, you get a many. So these are the more, they are like a major things. These are the major things for what we are making use of water. Right on these points? Right on these points. Make it fast. Right on these points. Is it visible? Okay. What is a vital? It's important renewable natural resources. It's important renewable natural resource. 70%. Remaining 30% is the land. It's not. It's Earth's surface is covered by the land, and 70% is covered by the water. When we get water replenished means renewed. It will be regenerated through or by this water cycle. By the water cycle, we get this water again and again. We can get this. So it's called as renewable resources. Water is one of the basic needs. There are many basic needs like land, air, sunlight, water. So water is one of the basic needs. We not only use the water for drinking, not only for drinking from ancient period, from the when the civilization started, is when the life existed on the surface. The living organisms, they started to make use of this water for drinking. And when the human beings, like a species has spawned on the surface, we started to make use of this water for the agriculture. When the technology improved, when the knowledge, when we got knowledge, when the technology improved, we started to make use of this water for agriculture, buildings, industries, transportation, and for the cooking, like a domestic purpose. Domestic purpose includes everything. Washing buffaloes and all those things, that includes the domestic activities. For domestic purpose, we are making use of this water. Is that all? Okay. Here, how many percent of our Earth's surface is covered by water? 70%. That means there is land, there are the population of humans and all the living organisms on the Earth's surface. The amount of water is more. The quantity of water is more than any other things on the Earth's surface. In the quantity. But we people, we are facing problem in the water. Why? We have 70% of our Earth's surface covered by the water. If all population in the world dump into the water, you will get a much. You will be remain with some more places in the water. You will be get some empty places in the water. That means all the population, all the organisms, living organisms can fit into that water. You will get some more water remaining. But where we are facing problem, scarcity of water, we are not getting the water. We are paying money for getting water. Is it not? Now earlier the people they were no need of paying any money to get water. They were getting freely. Now also we are getting free, but we need to pay money for that to get 1 bottle of water. We need to spend certain amount of monies. Earlier in the ancient period, they were not paying any monies for anything. Is it not? But now we are paying money to get a natural resources. What? We are paying money. Even for the oxygen, we are paying. Is it not? We came into the situation where we need to pay money for to get oxygen nowadays. So it's all happening because of what? What are those factors which is leading towards getting scarcity of all the natural resources? What are the factors? Why we are getting scarcity in this all the natural resource allabilities? It's all natural resources, renewable resources. Before that, we will discuss some points like water. 70% of water, if you consider the 70% of water on the earth's surface into 100%, in that 97% of water is in saline. It's a saline. What do you mean by saline? Saline is something like salt contained in the water. Salt water, saline water. 90% of water is in saline. It's salt, like a ocean, sea, lakes are in salt. The more in among these, like there are many forms or source. There are three forms as we discussed: solid, liquid, and gases. We get a water from many sources. There are many sources where you can get a water. What are those sources we can get a water? Yes, pond, lake, then ocean, sea, river, underground, glaciers, ice caps, evaporation. These all are the forms where we can get water, is not. In among this form, in among these sources, which of the sources has more water in it? Like ocean, sea, pond, lake, river, underground. So in among these, which of these sources is having more amount of water, more quantity of water? Yes, ocean and sea. These are the two things. This ocean and sea that comprise of this constitute around 97% of water. It contains 97% of water, ocean and sea. But the both ocean and sea, what do we get? Water from ocean, sea, and some lake. They are all salt. It's used for nothing. That means mainly we use water for drinking. It is unfit for drinking because it's contained of soil. It's salt contained. And even for agriculture also, we cannot make use of that for agriculture. The basic activity of human beings is agriculture, but we cannot make use of that for agriculture because it's too salt. Only use what we are getting from the salt water is for the transportation, and also we get some seafood, fish, and many other minerals we get there. It's a reason. So it is some uses we are getting. So in the remaining 3%, it's all fresh water. Remaining 3%. In among 100%, 97% is saline water, salt water. In remaining 3% is about fresh water. But this fresh water, it's found in three forms: solid, liquid, and gases. Solid like glaciers. Solid form, it's hard. Glaciers like ice caps. We cannot drink that water. Even though it's a fresh water. Himalayan mountain ranges are covered by the ice, is not. It's a fresh water, but we cannot drink that because it is in the solid form. We cannot drink that. And the liquid form, where we can get by the rainfall, and the rivers, lake are in the liquid. There we are getting the fresh water, including the underground water. Then gases. So we get a water in the gaseous form, but we cannot drink that. In the air we have water actually. You note that. 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 molecule of oxygen is called as water, H2O. It's not, we get a water by the 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 molecules of oxygen. It is there in the air actually. It is there in the atmosphere, but we cannot drink that. It's in the gaseous form. So, the fresh water which is available in the solid form, it is not able to drink. The fresh water which is available in the gaseous form, it is also not able to drink. It's not used for the human beings. One thing which is available in the liquid is useful. That's in the river, pond, underground, and rainfall. Nowadays, rivers are getting polluted because of the contamination of river. We are discharging the waste material in this water that is getting polluted. River water. Even the pond also, we are making use of the pond for different other activities. For washing buffaloes and all those things. It's not good and it's depleting its quality. And the underground water. Now underground water is getting depletion. It's reducing in its quality and quantity. because of our over exploitation of water. Then the rainfall, even in the rainfall also it is contaminated with some gas like chemical things. It is not unfit. So in among these 3%, only 1%, approximately only 1% and less than 1% is available for drinking. Less than 1%. In among 100%, only less than 1% is available for drinking. So that reason we are facing a problem. Even though we have the 90%, 70% of Earth surface covered by the water, that means 100%. Water we have, but in among 100%, only 1% is capable of drinking, is having some capable to satisfy our need. That's the reason we are facing a problem, scarcity in the water. Is it not? So, but we people, we goes on with the over exploitation. It's not good. So for that we need to have a conservation measures. So we'll look into that. We'll discuss about that in the coming concepts. So water, we are continuing the points. Like in among 70% of water on Earth's surface, 70% of water is only 1% is of drinking water. And the fresh water. In among the 70% of water, that means if you consider the 70%, we can say it's 100%. In among the 100% of water, suppose like Earth's surface is covered, 70% of Earth's surface is covered by the water. If you consider that 70% into 100%, in that 100%, only 1% of water is drinkable, means we can use for drinking. Remaining, the 97% of water is in saline status. Or is saline water. In among the 100%, of water, 97% of water is saline and only 1% of water is drinking water. So these saline waters are found in mainly the saline water are found in seas and the oceans and in some lakes. Not in every lakes, there are some freshwater lake and there are some saltwater lake. So you can find this in the sea, oceans and the lakes. The fresh waters are found in glacier, river, underwater and underground water. Yes, then rainfall. So it's underground. So we can find these fresh waters only in underground and rainfall. So as I told, this fresh water are found in three forms. One is in the liquid, that is glacier. So yes, it's solid. In a solid form, glacier, ice caps, which is covered in the mountains. Then the river is in the liquid, like a liquid form, underground water and rainfall. Then the gas. In the three forms, you will get the fresh water, but the water which is available in a liquid form, it's only available for, it's only capable of satisfying our needs, the human needs. It's not because we can only able to drink the things which is found in liquid, like fresh water. And like the water which is found in the solid and gaseous is unfit for drinking, that's all. It's about water, then next we'll go for like scarcity of water, problem of water. Right on this points. Right on these points. Is it over? Okay. So problem of waters. Problem of water. Problem of water. What are the problems we are facing in getting a fresh water? Like a scarcity of water. We may say it is a scarcity, a problem of water. Scarcity of water. Scarcity is nothing but the problem. Less availability. We are facing some problem in that. It's like we are not having enough. So the scarcity of water. What are the main factors? What are the main factors we are facing, or what are the main factors it's affecting? Or what are the main factors which causes for the scarcity of water? The factor responsible for scarcity of the factors responsible for scarcity of water. What are those? There are many. For example, and then for main, we'll discuss about the main factors which causes or which is responsible for the scarcity of water, like over exploitation. Over exploitation is nothing but making use of water resources unnecessarily and exploiting more, means extracting more uses from that. Extracting more uses than the, like what you call, the normal. It's called as over exploitation. Why we are exploiting more? Why we are making use of water more? Why? What is the reason? Because of population. Population is the reason for every problem what we are facing on the earth surface. Is not? As the population increased, it's now also it's been increasing. So population base increases. The demand for the resources increases. Not only for the water, for many other things like land, soil, water. And for many other resources also demand increases. That's the reason we are facing a problem, scarcity. So first one is about population is the main reason. The population. As the population increases, the demand for the water resources increases. So that's one reason. Second one is about demand for food crops and cash crops is increasing now. Earlier, in the ancient period, the people they didn't know much about the agricultural activity. When they got information about agricultural activity, they were all growing the things which they were needed, like food crops they were growing, but it was not much having demands on that time because they were not facing a scarcity on that time because the population was not much. It was less population and sources was there, resources was more. So everybody were satisfying, they were getting satisfaction with the resources, but now the population is more and the resources are less. To satisfy their need, they are demanding. For the survival, they need of food. But now the food crops and cash crops demand is increasing because this population is another one reason for this having scarcity in the water. In growing the food crops, we require plenty of water. We require more waters to grow the food crops because continuously that land will under the process of growing some crops. In the cash crops, food crops, mainly in the cash crop, they goes on growing the crops. In a one agriculture year, they grow more than 3 crops in the cash crop agriculture. Means the crop like agriculture, like growing crops only to sell in the market. It's a cash crop. So this activity does in a foreign mainly. In India also we are doing, but in other country comparatively it's more. They use 500, 200 acres to grow the cash crops, where continuously they grow the cash crops. They don't give any gap in between for getting fertility. It's so they will continuously grow the crops, and that requires more water, plenty of water. So there, because of that, we get a problem. We get a scarcity of water. The growing demand for food and cash crops. Then urbanization. Urbanization like modernizing the settlement areas. Like earlier we were having a villages, now it's turning to town and cities. It's like urbanization, increasing facilities with the technology. All those things, urbanization is required. Why? It requires many resources. In that, the main resource is about water for the construction of buildings, for the construction of roads, construction of industries, many other activities. The water is required. Now, every settlement like a villages, town is turning into the cities. Whatever the cities over there is spreading a lot, isn't it? In a area where it's spreading a lot. For that, they are making use of water. Abundant means they are making use of water with no limit. So this is another one reasons what we are facing, the scarcity in the water, availability of water. Then standard of living. Civilization, according to civilization. Now, in a modern civilization, people they prefer for cleanliness. Is not. Even though they don't have a cleanness in their heart, they prefer cleanness in their body. Is not. Because the modernity is like that. So for that, they make use of this water for abundant. They need a fresh water. Everybody, even for the washing hand, even for taking a bath, they are making use of fresh water. So they are extracting, they are exploiting more water. There must be, we are exploiting more waters. So that's the reason, it's another reason for having scarcity in the water. These are the 4 important points. If you go on rating, you get many like industrialization and for the construction of buildings and the roads, and we are making use of, we are chopping of trees, like deforestation. It's also another one reason for this having scarcity in the water. If you grow the crop like trees, if you make afforestation, you will get the water because of this water cycle is coming. The water will be evaporated from the leaves, even the leaves of a trees or plants. There we get the water. So this deforestation that indirectly lead towards scarcity of water, availability of water on the surface. So right on this, these are the main points which is responsible or which is causes for the scarcity of water. Right on this.